Hi, this is Bruce Himmelblau with Indie Film Nation. Today we're talking with the director and writer of We Are Living Things, and we'll also be joined by one of the starring uh, actors in the film. So let's welcome Antonio.
Break it free from the mainstream, the studio machine. I want it my way. Indie Film Nation, you know it's gotta be Indie Film Nation.
I have a package for this girl with the short hair.
I can take it for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why you follow me?
I think I know you from somewhere.
Who are the three people?
One of them was my mother.
Sleeping now. Let's go.
I was dreaming.
Where we go? Now. I was taken. Let's sleep here tonight.
Very nice to see you. Thank you for having us here.
You're welcome. So this has been a project that's been in the making for quite some time because I went through your Twitter history and saw a post on this back in 2017.
Yes. Well, I think to make films, it will take, I guess, from we started writing it in a while back, and then we didn't really write a script for quite a long time. We were just writing stories around this script. And then in 2016, we wrote the script. And then we started trying to see how to put it together around that time, 2017. And the film was then shot at the end of 2019, just before the pandemic. So actually the process wasn't that long to get the financing together. Strangely, usually it would take longer, I would think. But the creative process took a while.
So did you go for the financing first or for the casting first on this film?
It kind of all happened together. I teamed up with two producers. One is IFN, and the other one is Andrew Cayley. And we decided together that we would, it's like a snowball, get the ball rolling as with whatever we had at our disposal that wouldn't cost money, which would mean we could do a budget, we could do all the location scouting. That's a very contained cost because since the film is mainly shot in New York and we were based in New York, we used the offices of one of the two producers, Fan He, who had large offices because he manages productions for Asian films in New York, and also his personnel. So we were able to get to suddenly when we're pitching the film, it's not just a script with a few photographs or like a project deck. It's actually already, we're going to shoot this here, we're going to shoot that there, and then putting the crew together. So getting the cinematographer on board, who's a very big cinematographer in Europe. He shot films for Sorrentino. He's the most decorated cinematographer in Italy, and he's somebody I worked with him before. He loved the script, and he said, I want to do this. So he became a bit like a star attachment for us. And that's how so by the time we brought in the cast, we still weren't really sure if we were gonna be able to make the movie, but we figured let's start this process and see, what happens.
So you had some preliminary footage that you shot, try to arrange financing. Was that shot? What was that shot on? And
The preliminary footage, it's like a mood board, like an audio-visual mood board with music. So we had the composer. I knew who was going to be very early on. So he scored that. And so that was actually created for the film. We used some of the locations are at this place in Brooklyn called Sure We Can, which is a recycling collecting place, which we knew we could access because Alex Laura, the co-writer and the editor of We Are Living Things, had made for many years a documentary there. So he knew all the people. And I was story consultant on that documentary. So we used footage that was shot for that. I went and shot a bit more myself. And we used one of the people there as an inspiration for Jorge's character of Solomon. So it kind of all came together. So most of that footage a lot of it is from the documentary. Other of that footage was not shot by us. It's lifted from, so we stole it or borrowed it. And it's just to give a sense. It kind of, they call it a mood board. And I think it's really to give more the atmosphere and the mood, the texture that will be in the film. And when I look back at that mood board, I think it was pretty quote unquote honest. It's not so far from the movie we have made.
so that's different than a trailer. Some filmmakers, they'll shoot maybe a couple scenes and put that together and use that for the financing. So
Yes.
a mood board is different than a trailer.
Yes, definitely. A trailer you would actually shoot. Maybe you don't use those scenes for in the final film, but you actually create a scene or a couple of scenes and put them together. No, we didn't do that because that really requires a whole budget to do it properly, and we didn't have a budget. So we borrowed and we used stuff we already had. The only real creative part was the sound. So the sound design and the music was composed. And some of the music composed for that 3-minute mood board is actually still in the film. A modified version, because all the music in the film is electronic.
Because
Layers.
you've got a great background in shorts as well as documentaries.
Yes.
As one of your latest documentaries, you were the cinematographer, the director, the
Yes.
editor. How did you step away from some of those roles on this film?
Well, one of the reasons, I started making fiction films, and then, basically in 2001, I was in New York, and there was 9/11, and I was asked by Italian TV, with whom I've just worked, to take any camera I had and go and shoot some stuff for them. Now, I had done some nonfiction films before, but that started more of a reporting and nonfiction and documentary films. Then, based on that, I worked for the UN as a kind of a videographer for them with different producers. So I inadvertently, it took its own, life took its own course. But I kind of started missing making, fiction, doing fiction. So I did a few shorts, in the meantime, while I was doing this nonfiction work. And then with Alex, we decided to write this more ambitious project. And we were able to do it, which is pretty miraculous, in my opinion. But yeah, that's how it kind of happened. So it was not at all a sacrifice for me to step back and say, okay, let me get a great cinematographer to do what I don't do as well. And what I couldn't do on a fiction film. I think there's very few people who can, like maybe Soderbergh, one of the few, who can, shoot and then edit and direct. And he doesn't write much anymore because he's too busy doing these other things. But I think I like to write and direct, and then find great people to work with on these other, facets of making films, which I do when I'm doing a nonfiction film. But it's more because it's just you have to pay an editor, you have to pay them. And if you do a nonfiction film, I'm cutting a film on a prison island in Italy. It's 3 years of shooting, about 290 hours of footage. I have an editor, I'm lucky, but it's 6 months of work for an editor. So I have to, you have to find the money to pay those people. So sometimes it's a default, you end up doing things because if you don't do them, nobody's going to do them for you.
And so how did you find your editor?
Well, in We Are Living Things, the editor is Alex Laura. So he's one of the producers too. So he's part of the project. And we kind of decided that we had enough know-how to also present the team as, we could write it, we could pre-produce it, we could direct it. We have an editor, we have a composer, and we have a sound editor on board. And we didn't have to advertise that, and it's not really what happened, but we knew that if push came to shove, we would be able to cover those roles with those people at very, very discounted fees. So we felt confident that we could. So then we only needed the movie for the hard production costs. It's one way of making films that is. It's possible. I don't think you can do many more than one or two that way, because favors are not something, they're not any more favors if it becomes a norm to
Right.
ask people to. One thing about the casting and putting the film together, because this is what this is about, is the casting with the producers. I really wanted to cast a Chinese female character to play the female role, and a Mexican human being to play the Solomon, the main character. So I did I searched them in New York and in LA, but I always felt these were Mexican Americans and Chinese Americans. And when they're actors, they go through a great deal of effort to lose their accent and become much more American. And that's not what I was looking for. So I said, I'm looking in the wrong pot here. I'm not going to find what I'm looking for if I stay in America. I actually have to go to China and have to go to Mexico. And the crazy producer, I say crazy but in a beautiful way, because he said, yeah, you're right. But most producers would say, no, we're in New York, we're in LA, you're going to cast them, they're going to be legally able to work. Maybe they're going to be in SAG, maybe not, but it's not a problem to use them. If you cast somebody from China, you have to get to a lawyer, get them the paperwork, get SAG to approve it. It's a lot of work. And the producers were supportive and understood what I wanted to do. And I'm very glad, because I think some of the magic that's in the film is because of the casting.
So speaking of casting and actors, let's bring on Jorge.
Break it free from the mainstream, the studio machine. I want it my way. Indie Film Nation, it's gotta